Hello, everybody. Hello. Good afternoon. Olá. Olá, Carlinha. Hi, Allie. Olá, Cláudia. How are you? How is everybody? Hello. So, Jim is here with us too. So great. I must say, this is a very special episode, let's say like that, to me. Because we are here, well, the idea, I hope you saw last week, we started this idea of doing this, let's call them travel talks. Our idea is to invite official tour guides from different cities in the world and talk with them for a while here in our Instagram, to know what's happening in their countries. But mainly the idea is, with this lockdown, and I think a lot of us are really missing traveling, going out in our country or outside our country. And so this idea is to allow us to travel while we must stay home. And so last week it was Anna here, representing This is Lisbon Walking Tours, because our group This is Lisbon Walking Tours is me, Anna and Carla. And so last week with this first episode was Anna talking to 𝗀𝗃𝗃 from Algeria, and representing also the World Licensed Tour Guides, a very important association. This week we are going to Vienna, Austria. And why it is so special to me? Because in 2008 I was during a whole month in Vienna. Carla was with me too, not the whole month, a few days, but it was an incredible experience, and it is really a special city to me. It became a very special city to me. I love it. I definitely have to go back. So when I was preparing all this, it was like traveling on time, remembering a lot of things. And yes, Carla, I decided to bring a lot of things that it is a reminder of that time there. But let's see if Allie, our guide in Vienna, I will invite her to enter in a few minutes, if she recognizes, if she knows what this is. But this, yes, was a gift from Vienna that my friends gave to me. Well, I want to start by talking with our girls. And let's see, I hope I will not ruin anything. I will start with Anna here, ready with us. Hi, Anna. And I must say, I'm speaking in English, and because you all know, tourism had this collapse, and I feel like, can I still speak? Do I still know how to speak in English? It's so strange. It's like we haven't worked for such a long time that it's like, I don't know how to do this anymore. How are you, Anna?
Hello, how are you? Thank you. I am fine, and I hope you are too, Cátia.
Yes. So it was,
Very,
I really enjoyed last week.
thank you. I too. I did too.
We noticed that. It was really
I was
fun.
very excited actually. It was one of my first IG lives, and I was a little anxious to be to be honest, but I think it went well. I really enjoyed that travel, about the importance of the tour guides, and of course also traveling a little bit to Algeria. We actually had really positive feedback, so I'm excited about this one because I love Vienna, yeah, so I'm excited.
You were in Vienna already, right?
Yes, 2 times. And I secretly dream, one of my dream travels is actually to hire a camper van and go to the Tyrol region and just park and just hike. So it's one of my dream tours actually, to go back to Austria, not just to Vienna, but
yeah, especially I think a big difference is the green, right? The parks, all that nature, the contact with the nature. Yes, it must be. I was in Salzburg also, but that's it. And I also have that feeling like, oh, I want to go back and to discover more. But now I want to ask you, because as we had this idea of this is like a little moment in time to feel like we are traveling. But we were also thinking, how can we make this last for a week till our next travel talk? And our challenge today is because reading is also like traveling, right? And
hello, Andre.
You're not that long ago, a lot of people couldn't actually travel, and traveling was not as easy as it is nowadays, right? And so a way to travel was by reading books, for example. And so I ask you if you could leave us a suggestion of a book that is related to traveling, or that by reading we feel like we are traveling, that we are on that place.
Okay, so I give it a lot of thought after you asked me about it, and I came to the conclusion that I could not just pick one book. It was too difficult. So I decided to pick 2 books, 2 very big books, as you will see. One is Portuguese and another one it's more international. So I think it's going to be fine. I'm going to start with the Portuguese book, which is this one right here.
Okay. That's good.
𝗀𝘀𝘃𝗀𝗃, Miguel Sousa Tavares. It's really an amazing book. It shows a little bit the last period of the monarchy in Portugal, and then the people and the society of the time. But then, of course, as the name says, equator, it goes to the islands of 𝗀𝗏 and 𝗃𝗏, the old colonies of Portugal, and it really makes us travel through the words along that island. It's a really beautiful love story too. So it really got into me, and more or less talking about into love story, but from completely different perspective. I'm also going to another very big book, as you can see. This one is a little bit more international, from Diana Gabaldon, and it's Outlander. And I really love. I discovered this on Netflix, actually, with the series on Netflix, and then I fell in love and I decided to read books. They are all really big books, about 900, 1400 pages each book. Okay, but especially this first one is in Scotland. And it made me travel not just in time, but through the beautiful landscapes and history of Scotland. So I really love that. It's very descriptive as well, and I simply love both of the books, so I couldn't decide which one to tell you.
But good, because probably I actually don't know if Ecuador is written in English, if they could find...
I don't too.
But so it was to give the
Yeah,
two
if it is
options.
in English, I really advise everyone to read this book. It's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much for your suggestion.
Hello, João. Yes, I hope to see you on top one day too, and in one of our tours too. Yeah, João is a flight attendant in top, so hope to see you on board, perhaps in a trip to Vienna. Who knows?
Who knows? Vienna or Scotland. Okay. So Anna, thank you very much. I will now invite Carla to see what she prepared for us. What is her
Yes.
suggestion? Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Enjoy.
I hope I will not make a mistake changing our guests. Okay. And now I will invite Carla. Where are you? Our Carla. So, Carlinha.
Hi! Olá! Hallo! Danke, und dir?
Oh, meu Deus. No, I'm starting to speak in Portuguese.
You made me already travel some years back in time when I saw your necklace.
Yeah.
It will be a trip that I will always remember. And thank you for having me in your home in Vienna. I loved it.
It was really a good time, right? We were in, it was June or July? July.
July.
Yes.
It was very, very hot. We left home at 9 a.m. to go to Schönbrunn, and it was already 32 degrees, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
it was very nice.
What is your suggestion, the book that you chose for us to try?
Well, I was thinking a lot. It was not easy to find a book that made me travel to a place. Of course, in our imagination, we can always travel by reading. But I never read the book and said, okay, I'm going to this destination after this. But it happened the opposite. I went to a place and then I found a book that made me read it because I was there already. And it is a book by a classic from Portugal, which is 𝗂𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. Yeah, 𝗂𝗃. He wrote a book, not a proper book like we know nowadays. He was invited to go to Egypt for the inauguration of the Suez Canal in 1869. And he brought his notes during this trip. So he went from Portugal to Cádiz, where he took a boat to Alexandria. And from there, he went by train to Cairo. And you know, all Portuguese who read 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 know that he's the master of description. He is excellent doing it. So when we read him, and after I was there, he wrote about the bazaars, the life in the city, the drugs, because it was there that he had contact with hashish, for instance. So it is very nice to remember the place where you have been by reading him. So that would be my suggestion. And he never wrote this book like he wanted, because he died in 1900. And his daughter found the notes he wrote during the trip, and after he died, they published the book. It is called The Egypt, the Notes of a Journey, but it's very nice to read him. Yeah.
Oh, actually, well, Anna is saying she's reading the book.
You see, I could not present it here because it's in my mother's house, and now with the lockdown I cannot go there to pick it to show you here. But yeah, Anna is reading him and she loves him, so it must be nice. So trust us.
And I will look for that too. I actually didn't know he had this that book. So,
and then he continues the trip to go to the Holy Land, so to back then Palestine, 𝗬𝗏𝗃, and that is also one of the trips that I want to do. So it's a nice suggestion for those who have been there or want to go there.
yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Carla.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So thank you. And next week, Carla is hosting our travel talk, and Carla is going to Dubai. Right? Are you ready? Did you pack already?
I think so. We are always ready.
Okay, so Carla, thank you. And
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye. Well, let's change again. Thank you. Yes. And I actually, oh, wait, I just want to, for more about Vienna, I recommend Only in Vienna by Duncan Smith. Okay, Jim, we will look for that book too. Jim is a good friend that I actually met in Vienna. As you see, Vienna is a big part of my life. But before talking to Allie, I'm going to invite here another person. She is Eva. And Eva, she's a project manager. She works in tourism too. Hi, Eva.
Hello, Cátia.
How are you?
Thank you, my dear. Thank you for having me and for inviting me.
Yeah. When we were preparing this, I always had you in my mind. The reason is, we work together for a long time already, but Eva has also a very strong relationship with Vienna. Tell us why, Eva.
Okay, so I'm half. I'm half Portuguese and half Viennese. My father's Viennese, and of course I visited always my grandmother since I was 2 years old. So I went by plane alone, you know, and with this unaccompanied minor thing around my neck.
Oh.
And there I went very happy with Lufthansa, Frankfurt, Vienna. Anyway, and grandmother was there always picking me up at the airport. So yes, I have a strong connection, and I love Vienna. I lived there when I was 11 and then until I was 20. So I was there in high school, and of course it's very emotional to speak about Vienna because everything there is so historical and so imponent, and it's so beautiful. The beauty of Vienna, and you know that because you lived there too. For instance, I can tell you, in my school, that was the Akademisches Gymnasium. Franz Schubert was a student there.
Oh.
So in the 1700s. So it was very, of course we were very young. We were like, 11, 12 years old. But I mean, for us, what the heck? Okay, there is a thing saying, okay, Franz Schubert was visiting this school. Okay, big deal. But today, as adults, when we think back, and every time I visit Vienna and I go to my school and see it outside and remembering, it brings me back so fantastic memories.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so much to see in Vienna. I mean, where can we begin? First of all, the relationship between Austria and Portugal is very strong.
I was going to ask you that if you feel that as you have this experience, of course, of living in that place, of feeling that place that way, and now here in Portugal, do you think there's some similarities between us actually, or
not only similarities, I mean, concerning the food and the coffee shops, and being also a city that has a lot of international people living there, because as you know, Vienna was built, was also the third city United Nations city, you know, after New York, Geneva, Vienna, and now Nairobi. But at that time in '79, they finally, after a few years of that project, UNO city, United Nations. So it was something very important also to be, but let me just tell you one little thing. Caritas, the Caritas organization worldwide, they actually, Portugal was the first country that received the children from the after the Second World War. And families in Portugal received children where the parents sent them to Portugal because there was no food in Vienna. I mean, the conditions were very poor. So my grandmother sent my father here to Portugal, and he ended up in a family in Braga, up in the north, the 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃 family, and he was raised there as their own kid. I mean, as a son of the house. And like my father, 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, you know, also a famous Portuguese horse riding guy. Anyway, so many Austrians came to Portugal. We have in Vienna the Austro-Portuguese community and club, where you have there 98% are Austrians that remember very well Portugal because they lived here in Alentejo and many regions in Portugal, being a part of a family, of a Portuguese family. So the bond is still here, you know?
Yeah.
And this is very interesting. Not many people know that Portugal was the first country to receive the children here from Austria after the war. Yeah.
And Eva, do you keep going, or you haven't been there for a while? How is it? Do you still have connections to Vienna nowadays?
No, I still go there. Sometimes I go, of course. Well, now the connection is not. Now I cannot hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay,
yes.
Because now there was a little blocking here, a little stopping. No, sometimes I go there like once a year, you know. My parents lived there for 46 years, and they came then to Portugal 4 years ago. But yes, my connection is still strong. And of course, if you ask me what I miss there, or what would I suggest for a next trip there, I would always say is, of course, all these sweets in the coffee shops, and the knödel and the Apfelstrudel and all those Würstchen, you know, the sausages. They have so many different sausages, you know, with the cheese inside, and the more spicy ones. And you have these little booths on the streets where you can eat these sausages, you know, and with this bread with the salt, and of course the museums, the artists, Klimt, Schiele, 𝗀𝗃𝗃, so much to see, you know. Yes, I noticed. Friedrich 𝗀𝗃𝗃, love him.
Yeah.
I love him very much. You know, his project with the Kunsthaus and the apartment house that he built, everything is round, and the colors.
Yes.
He was an amazing artist.
Well, Eva, I want to say thank you so much for joining us for just a few minutes, but I really wanted to have you here with us. And
thank you so much.
One last question before inviting Allie to enter in our talk is, because I have this in my mind, but I'm not sure anymore. When I was in Vienna, the apartment that I rented for that time, it was in 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃. You had a connection with that street too, right? Or I'm wrong? The 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃.
No. 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃, is that after Gänzendorf?
It was
where was it exactly?
Near Naschmarkt. Near
the Naschmarkt, okay. Near the Sezession, Karlsplatz.
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic. Okay. 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃. Okay. Fantastic.
My dear, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's hope next time we can speak more about Vienna. There's so much to see, so much to say. Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now let's invite our tour guide from Vienna. I hope I'm saying the name right, because actually we never met in real life. Hi!
Hi, Cátia.
How
This,
are you?
oh my God, I have so much pressure now. It was beautiful listening to Eva and you girls, and I'm here like, oh gosh, she went to the 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 and
Yes.
it's like, oh my God, I'm just a tour guide. No, it was lovely. It was so interesting. I was just attached to my phone, just listening, and I wanted her to keep speaking. And then I was like, oh my God, it's my turn. What do I say now?
Well, first thing, is Ellie? I'm saying
So
it right?
you're saying it perfectly. You can actually say however you want it to, because my whole family calls me Ali, A-L-I. However, I used to have some problems over the years working in tourism because people couldn't really identify me as a female, because there is the Arabic name Ali that is a boy's name. And which is perfectly fine. The problem was that a lot of people wanted to book a boy, for example, and I showed up, or people wanted to book a lady and they weren't sure about it. And so I decided to create a new name for myself. So I know it sounds really silly, but a lot of people called me Ali. So I figured out I'm just going to make it sound a little bit more feminine so that people know who they're talking to, because my full name is Alessandra, which is lovely actually, but it's very long, so just call me whatever you want. Just don't call me Alex, because that's never been my name.
No. Well, Ellie, thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for inviting me.
It is a pleasure. We follow Ellie in our Instagram, and I must say, we love your Instagram, really. We
Thank
learn
you
a
so
lot.
much.
It's true. I really like the posts that you do. We learn a lot, and we learn in a fun, cool way. And I always feel like I'm waiting for the next one. And I also love your stories, so it's really cool.
Thank you. This is
for
I don't know what to say. I'm so humbled. I must be honest, I love everything I write about, and I love our job. I love to be a tour guide. I love to tell stories, and I just love Vienna so much. So every time I have to tell a story, I try to make it easy and fun. And I know that some stories are not easy and not fun at all, but if history allows me, I always try to go in that direction so that people can actually feel it with me and not fall asleep while reading, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad you mentioned that.
And that's great. Especially because Vienna is so rich in history, and especially when you have this monarchy that is like a puzzle when you start talking about that and who is who and got married.
I got them here. They never leave my side.
So it's really important to understand that, to make other people to get engaged and to understand and not to feel like, oh my God, what is happening here, right? So you do it in a very good way. First question, you are not from Vienna?
No, I am not from Vienna. I am actually from Italy. My city is called Rieti, which is just an hour away from Rome. And I've talked to Mitra, tour guide Mitra, about it. She's a great Rome tourist guide. And she was like, you're not from Rome. Don't tell people you're from Rome. But it is something that people from my small city used to say, to tell people that you're from almost Rome, because people don't really know where we're from. But I'm from the exact center of Italy. It's the region is called Sabina. We have amazing food. We have amazing olive oil, and we are right in a valley. So we have mountains and nice landscapes. but somehow I've never really felt home. I know it sounds really sad, but I don't see it in a sad way, because it will always be part of myself, but I don't really feel home in Italy. And so I decided to just start over my journey, and I moved to Germany. And I stayed in Germany for 7 years, and I learned my German in Berlin, and then I moved to Munich, and I started tour guiding in Munich. And in Munich, well, I loved it, but I was still missing something. And then I found Vienna, or Vienna found me. And it was really love at first sight. I came here like 5-6 times before moving here. And from the first day, like the first time I came to Vienna, I already decided I have to go. And I decided, yeah, that was going to be it. And the one thing that actually thrived me to move to Vienna was to become a licensed tour guide, because in Munich or in Germany, there is not really a license system, a state license system. So even the most knowledgeable and best tour guides that I know, they're not licensed, not because they don't want to, but maybe they can just get like a city license. This is possible. But anyone can be a tour guide, which obviously we don't have to talk about it again and again and again, but it has a lot of pros and a lot of cons, because if anybody's a tour guide, then who's a good tour guide and who's not a good tour guide, you know? You don't really have any standards, which doesn't mean that not licensed tour guides are not good in that sense, but it just means that it's harder for clients to actually have a sort of path to follow. And this is another reason why I moved to Vienna, actually, because I wanted to live here. I wanted to be a licensed tour guide, and I just came here and I started studying and studying and studying, and I'm a licensed tour guide now.
But you have to make a specific study, college, or an exam? How is it in?
So it is independent from college. It is a private school. There actually in Vienna, there is 3 private schools. One of them belongs to the Chamber of Commerce, which is the school I attended. And there is 2 different ways of becoming a tour guide. You can go to evening classes 3-4 times a week. And that's for 4 semesters, so it will take you 2 years, and after these 2 years you have to take 3 exams. So it will take you, like I read Francis is writing almost a university degree. It is the hardest exam. It is well known for being one of the hardest exams that exists in Austria. Obviously, as a profession, I'm not talking about a university degree, but you know, in order to achieve this profession, diploma, you need to follow this course. And the course that I've taken was only 8 months. I say only because it sounds like a very quick time, but I went to school every day from Monday to Saturday, and it was from 9 in the morning to 4 p.m. And then on the weekends we had to go to excursions, obviously, because we had to get to know every museum. And at the end of the course you will need to take an exam, internal exam from the school, so that the school can say, yes, you can go to the big state exam. And then the big state exam is divided into 3 parts. The first part, you need to write a pretty much tax return income system. Like it's all about law and all of the rights and things that you have to do legally if you're a freelance tour guide, like what does it mean in terms of social insurance and stuff like that. So there is a lot of bureaucracy. I must be honest, this is like the most feared exam, because everybody's like, oh, I love history, I love art, 𝗧𝗍𝗫, let me tell everything about 𝗧𝗍𝗫. But then it's like, oh, taxes, hold on. And it was really hard, but I'm quite thankful we got the opportunity of learning it, because I'm actually working on my tax return right now, and I'm like, I know how to do this. Obviously, if you have a big business, you do have a person in charge for your taxes. I'm not saying that, but if you are a solo freelancer, it helps if you know what you're doing. And answering also to the question, I am an Austria guide certified, so I'm allowed to guide everywhere in Austria. There are some sites that require a extra license, for example, the 𝗀𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃 Palace. In order to go inside there, you actually have to take an exam there, and it's beautiful. It's worth everything. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're a little bit pissed, if I'm allowed to use this word, because you studied so much and you've taken, and obviously you know every single painting inside 𝗀𝗏𝗃 already, you know every single bed sheet and curtain. So it's not that you have to learn this all over again, but you still need to pay for a fee and then kind of take your time to learn this a little bit more and then take an exam. So it's not a waste of money or time. Obviously it's all worth it in the end, because they will give you the badge and you will get better prepared for your guests. But still, you know, you go for the license, you take 1 exam, 2 exams, 3 exams, and then you're like, okay, now I need to take the certification for Mozart House, for 𝗀𝗏𝗃, and for these other museums. But in the end, you know, it all leads to a better prepared tour guide. So why not?
Yes. Why not? And do you work in which languages do you work?
So it sounds weird, but I am an English speaker. Most of my guests so far have been Americans. Also in Munich, I worked with so many Americans, a lot of Irish as well, and Italians, obviously, because that's my main language. Sometimes I need to work more on my Italian tours than on my English tours. Because it sounds really stupid, but you do need to know all the terms, you know, when it comes to art and architecture. Yes. You need to be careful what you're saying. The fact that I'm Italian doesn't mean that I'm a great Italian tour guide, you know. So I really need to sit down and take my laptop and be like, all right, now 𝗀𝗏𝗃𝗃. Let's say this. Let's try to figure out a way so that Italians can have fun. Also, I think it's quite important that it's one of the most important things as a tour guide is that you are doing this for your clients. They're not coming for you. You are spending a day of their holiday with them, and it's beautiful. They're on holiday. They're having fun, and they're not there to listen to your show. So you need to be prepared, and you need to be able to answer them, and you need to respect the fact that maybe they don't think your jokes, like your Americanized jokes, are fun. They just want an Italian joke. You know, it's a different culture.
I know. Well, so Allie, you do, if you take us now on a stroll around Vienna, first let me ask you, how many days, if we want to know Vienna, how many days should we stay in Vienna? For how long?
Well, most of people comes for 3 nights. Like statistically, it's 3 nights. It's not enough. I honestly would bet for a week, because a week allows you to relax. And what I see mostly when people come to Vienna is they arrive, they do a walking tour in the morning, and then they do 𝗀𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃 tour in the afternoon, and then they want a wine tour in the evening. But then in the morning they want to go to the art history museum. I'm sorry, my dog is drinking. She's very loud. I hope it won't bother the microphone. So I think with a week, you'll be able not only to learn a lot about history, art, and whatever you're interested at, but you'll also be able to relax and enjoy it. And I think it's a pity that people travel so fast nowadays, because they get stressed because they want to have it all. And then obviously they all want to go at 𝗀𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃, but then they complain because it's full, but everybody just wants to go in, you know, they all have the same needs. So I would say 1 week, take your time. Maybe if you don't have a full week, 5 days, but I wouldn't go any less than 5 days.
Okay, that's good to know. And what do you rank? So if we do those 5 days, what are like the highlights? What can't we miss in Vienna?
Well, my highlights or Google highlights?
Yours.
Mine. Well, the first thing that everybody do is the right thing. You Google for a tour guide, and it doesn't matter if you want a private tour or if you want want to join a group, or if you want to take as much as it's not my field. If you want to join a bus tour, you can choose whatever suits your needs, and you do that, because I think it's the best introduction for you to get a map, get a tour guide, and actually see where you are. And this is something that people sometimes forget. They just arrive somewhere and they're like, where is Mozart House? And I'm like, wait, you don't know where we are, so I cannot tell you where Mozart House is, So just take your time, arrive, open your map, take a tour guide. Doesn't matter which one, doesn't matter how many people are in your group. It will be worth it if you're interested. And then I would personally take some time for lunch, because this is something very important. This is probably the most Italian thing that I do is food. Like, there is always time for food. And the Viennese also take time for food. The Viennese are very similar. You guys were talking about how similar they are to the Portuguese culture. I know pretty much nothing about Portuguese culture, so I don't dare really talking about it. I know a lot about history and about monarchs, and if we have time, I can tell you also some stories about it later. But when it comes to Italy, I know that people sit down, enjoy their food, and they want to enjoy their lives. And this is something that yeah. Sorry, you were saying in Portugal as well.
Yeah, in Portugal is the same, and I think that's because I work very often with the guests from Austria, 𝗧𝗿𝗃 also, and they tell us that they feel a little bit home, because they understand that we have the same feeling. This idea, as Eva was saying, we like to go to a cafe, to stop, to enjoy. We like to eat. We like to relax, to feel the city. Vanessa, she's also a Portuguese tour guide. She works with Italians too. And yes, we feel, it's funny because we say that from German-speaking countries, it's like Austria is the most Latin one, let's say, because they have very similar idea of dealing with life.
Again, there is a good reason. We are all connected to each other in the end. But so I would just suggest somebody to go get some lunch. I know you're vegan. Are you vegan or vegetarian?
Yes.
You're vegan. So Eva mentioned the Wiener Würstelstand, for example, which is a sausage booth where you can go and get your sausages. The Wiener Würstelstände are everywhere, and they were born in the end of the 19th century as places where war veterans who could not find any other job could have a possibility to be socially reintegrated into the city life. So they were born as a really kind of social project. And I know that, of course, a sausage, you buy the sausage and you eat it, but still people eat it there. They're not eating it while running away. They eat it all around the sausage booth. They sit down, really no stress at all. And this is like a typical Viennese fast food. And now that you mentioned that you're vegan, there is the first organic certified Wiener Würstelstand opened last year. Mm-hmm. And they have a vegan sausage, which is made out of, it's made on mushroom basis. So there is no soy at all. It's just mushroom and rice and water. And it is produced in Vienna from the rest of the coffee pots. Like, that whenever you do your coffee, you tend to throw that away afterwards, the coffee rest that you have. Well, there is this Viennese startup that started, I think, 5-6 years ago, that started recycling everything. So they go around specific restaurants that signed up a contract with them, and they gather all the coffee rests from these restaurants, and then they process it. They make compost out of it, and out of this compost, mushrooms will grow, and these mushrooms will then become vegan sausages.
Great, so cool to know. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's definitely the first place we're going to when you come to Vienna.
Yes.
It's probably not the cheapest place to get a sausage, because usually you pay maybe 3-4 euros, and there you pay 1-2 euro more. I think it's 4,90 € for a vegan sausage, so it's still for a fast food quite expensive, especially for Vienna, because Vienna gets cheaper than that. But I mean, it's such a great concept. I would pay all the money.
And is there like a vegan version of the 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃 that?
Yes, actually. Let me just see. Can I share a picture? I don't know how to do this anymore, but there should be a way for me to share a picture. And if not, I got my laptop in here. I'm just gonna Google it back again. Because I found. Sorry?
Is saying that 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 is saying that when they go to Vienna, they will do a tour with you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm getting embarrassed. This is, you guys are all so nice, and I'm here like, whew. This is a little bit weird because I actually prepared a couple of pictures to show, but somehow I need to Google it. Instagram live show pictures. I'm just gonna Google it real quick. Picture, because I actually screenshotted a recipe for you. Oh, Francis is saying not if you're invited. Oh, okay. Darn it. All right. So I'm going to send this to you later so you can post it to your stories, because I found a really good website where they do a lot of vegan recipes, and I found the vegan 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃 as well. They use mostly silk tofu, which sounds really weird, but a typical Viennese 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃 has usually about 5-6 eggs in it, so you need a lot of moisture, and from the silk tofu you can get this moisture, and you can make a really good 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃. And I found a recipe, and I'm so sorry that I didn't know I couldn't share it, but you'll do it later for me. But I found a recipe which is almost like the real 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃, just without any animal products. So stay tuned on This is Lisbon Walking Tours in order to find out about the vegan 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃 in 30 minutes.
And so, next stop for our tour.
Next stop for our tours, it will be the Art History Museum, because you cannot learn about art if you haven't learned about the Habsburg. And if you haven't learned about the Habsburg, you haven't learned about Vienna. It is all connected to each other. And everything that the Habsburg gathered as a private property is inside the Art History Museum. It is the biggest museum in Austria. And there is the largest Bruegel collection. I know I'm saying it wrong. Bruegel. I don't speak Dutch, but Bruegel collection in the world, and there is also a huge Flemish painters collection in there. They have Albrecht Dürer as well, since we're talking about the Dürer Gasse. By the way, it's not Straße, but Gasse.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
No, I don't want to correct you, but the Dürer Gasse. I know where it is, right there by the Nachtmarkt, and it's a wonderful street. You have a nice panorama view over the river as well. But the Dürer Straße, I don't think there is one in Vienna. There is one in Linz, but not in Vienna. Yeah. But so definitely that, because I think the Art History Museum is one of the places where you can find out about history, monarchy, and art in one huge house. And if you're not into painting, I mean, they have a coin cabinet. If you're not into coins, they have an Egyptian collection. If you're not into Egyptian, they have an ancient collection. They even have like all these objects that move around. They used to entertain the court of the 16th and 1700s. You know, these drinking games that people had just on the desk or on a big table in order to entertain all the, just imagine, Bridgerton, Pride and Prejudice debutantes that would just sit all together, and then all of a sudden you had like a small miniature bear coming to you through the table and then shooting schnapps at you. Like, it's fun. It's art is fun. It's not only history. So whether you want fun, art, history, monarchy, you need to go there.
Okay, okay. And would you recommend the museums where you can find 𝗀𝗃 and chill and all that?
Of course, of course. The biggest 𝗲𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗃 collection in the world is at the 𝗀𝘀𝗃𝗀𝗃 Museum, and over there you also have some 𝗀𝗃 as well. Obviously, if you're specifically looking for 𝗀𝗃, you have to go to the Belvedere, and the Belvedere is there where the kiss is at. And this, guys, is just, you don't even have to Google it. Everybody knows it. And it is something that I remember I didn't like it when I was a kid. When I started art history at school, I was more like Caravaggio kind of girl. And
Okay.
it's incredible when you go to a museum, and if you get a guide at the museum, you either go with a licensed tour guide or you can go with art historians from the museum. It's up to you. I honestly can only recommend art historians from the museum if you are an expert, because everybody has its own fields, you know. So if you go to Schönbrunn, by all means, book me. But if you are an art historian yourself, or if you really know your stuff and you would like to know more in depth, then the museums offer this great possibility of booking their own art directors, for example. And I think it's an incredible experience, and you can go there and really find out why 𝗲𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗃 painted these naked figures and why Klimt was obsessed with gold. You know, it's not about gold or not, it's about why, and it tells you so much about the historical period as well. So definitely had a look at that as well. I suggested the Art Historian Museum, obviously, because it's my favorite. I feel like home over there. But obviously, if you're more into 1900s, definitely Leopold Museum or Belvedere Museum. They're much better.
So, Allie, you were saying that we are all connected through the monarchy. Is there a connection with Portugal?
Yes, actually, the very first connection is from the 15th century, whenever Frederick III, Holy Roman Empire, also Habsburg, married Eleonora from Portugal. One of the biggest connections, though, in terms of relationships, comes from the house Coburg, which I think we all know. Coburg, 𝗧𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, aka they also kind of call themselves Windsor nowadays. We're not real sure. But let us go back in history. Let's go back to the 18th century, and let's imagine we're in Germany. We got 3 princes. They're beautiful. They have no money, so they just started marrying all around Europe, and then one becomes Leopold of Belgium, and another sister, she gets married and she becomes a great duchess in Russia. And then their nephew, he marries a certain Victoria, Queen Victoria, and Albert from Coburg. And another one of these brothers, Ferdinand I, marries a princess, and a Hungarian princess in Austria, Vienna. And this Hungarian princess is strictly Catholic, so she kind of forced him to kind of convert. I mean, he came from Coburg. Coburg, if you're wondering where it is a region in Germany, in the federal state of Franconia. Well, not federal state, it's within Franconia. Within the Franconia region, you have the area of Coburg. And from there, I already read Fernando II, or I don't know how to say it in Portuguese. I read it very Spanish. I apologize.
You said it right.
Ferdinand I, not the second. He's the one who moved from Germany, Protestant, to Vienna, Catholic. And he created the very first line of Catholic Coburgs in Vienna. He also constructed the Palais Coburg, which still exists, and it's incredible. It's like the crème de la crème. It's really beautiful palace. And they had a child, these two, Marie and Ferdinand. And this child was Ferdinand II. And Ferdinand II got married to Maria from Portugal. Maria II, Donna Maria, she was Queen of Portugal. However, he did not call himself King of Portugal at first, because Portugal, and I think you're better than me in explaining this, had a really weird rule. So basically, when you get married, when you're a boy, you get married to the queen, you're not automatically the king, which I think it's pretty fair. You need to work your position. So the only way of becoming king is to produce a heir. And this happened 1 year later. We're talking, by the way, about 1836 when they got married. 1 year later, 1837, their son, I don't remember his name. I don't remember his name. It was not Pedro. Was it Pedro?
Yeah.
Was it Pedro? Okay, it was Pedro. And their son was born. And Ferdinand is actually pretty famous nowadays, but people don't quite know this because he constructed an incredible palace called the Pena Palace. And this is, and if you Google things to do in Portugal, it will tell you, go to Lisbon, eat pastel de nata, and go to the Pena Palace. Those are the three first things that comes up. And he built it also in an eclectic style, which kind of reminds a palace that I also guided my groups to, which is the 𝗀𝘀𝗃𝗃 castle, which was built about 30 years later by the King of Bavaria, Ludwig II. So by all means, we are all connected to each other. Yes. Before we get interrupted, I wanted to ask you something, Cátia. Do you think it would be possible for us to jump back again for a little bit of closure up, or in case we get disconnected, or is that a problem for you?
No, I was going to say the same, because I think Instagram will cut us. We are almost here for 1 hour. If everybody keeps here, we can continue. If when it cuts, we can come back. Okay, if everybody will join us again, we will be really
I mean,
happy.
it won't be long. We're not talking until 10 p.m. I just meant, like, I feel like the clock is ticking, and I'm not sure.
Oh,
Francis says that Instagram has a 4-hour limit.
Okay, so
we'll try this out.
Yeah, we will try. What we would like to say to everybody is that if this goes down, if it disconnects, we come back again. Okay. And yeah, Pena Palace is actually became like one of the most visited monuments in Portugal. Everybody, and especially Americans, it's like oh, everybody wants to go to Pena Palace, and now Pena Palace
it's a UNESCO site.
Yes, it is. Sintra, it is the entire
region.
Area. And it's like people wait online hours and hours to visit, but the park is amazing. It's beautiful, and what I really feel special about the place is that everything was created by this man. So yes. It was his vision, and the thing is, when he imagined all that, he was starting to plant everything. So he was organizing all that. And actually, he never saw...
oh, Cátia, you live there.
Yes, I live near...
I just read the comments, like, Cátia lives there. Okay.
And so it's really like what we see nowadays, it's his vision, because we now see the trees really high, you know, we see the park green, but he never saw it, but it was his vision. And Anna was mentioned that actually he was the one, for example, who introduced the Christmas tree in our country. So yes. The tradition.
Yes, I can also tell you the story of it.
Please.
Also, before we change subject, somebody asked about the Windsor connection. The Windsors are 𝗀𝘃𝗃. That's their real name. And also 𝗀𝘃𝗃, 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃. Please forgive me. It's 𝗀𝘃𝗃𝗃. And it was because of World War I, you know, they were all connected to each other. All the three Kaisers, you know, the Tsar, the Kaiser in Germany and the king in England. They were cousins, and it was really a big problem for the king in England. Let's just oversimplify history. It was really a big problem to have this German name going to war against Germany. And there is a really nice, actually, satire comic picture. I think it is from those ages, from the 1920s probably, of the King of England swiping away the title "Made in Germany." I mean, Queen Victoria spoke German. They were all from German descendancy, and they decided to call themselves Windsor because it was more English. And they chose Windsor because Windsor Castle is up till today actually one of their favorite summer residences. And this is why they chose the name Windsor. There is no real genius idea behind it. They just chose a name that would suit them, and Windsor was the first thing that popped up in their mind. I'm sorry about everybody listening to this. I just don't have 1 hour to speak about their names. But I just wanted to answer the question because somebody obviously asked, like, are they still there? It's the same people, same blood, just a different name.
Okay. And one. Do you have more connections to Portugal?
Of course. One quick sentence to the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree came from officially, there are two versions about the Christmas tree coming to Vienna, but I'm just going to tell you the one related to Ferdinand. Very German, Ferdinand. Now, a lady called Henriette von Nassau, she was an aristocrat who got married in the Habsburg family, and she brought the Christmas tree because the Christmas tree was a Protestant tradition. So she came from Berlin, moved to Vienna, and she was allowed not to convert to Catholicism. So somewhat very modern back then for the time, because you must know that all the princes and princesses had to convert. It didn't matter where they were from. For example, the Ferdinand I, father of Ferdinand II, he was Protestant, came to Vienna, converted to Catholicism. There were ladies, a famous lady, just to mention her name was Wilhelmine Amalia, and Wilhelmine was a very Protestant name, and she was forced to swap to Catholicism, and so her name became Amalia Wilhelmine, because Amalia sounds more Catholic, it's a more Catholic name. But so these things were literally happening every day there. And Henriette brought the Christmas tree to the Habsburg, and their mansion was just a block away from the Palais Coburg. So if the Habsburg and the royal and imperial family would start this tradition, obviously all the aristocrats all around would start these traditions as well, because they want to be cool, you know, they want to be as cool as the imperial family. And this is how the Coburg, which were one of the most important aristocrat family, they were almost the closest actually to the Habsburgs in the 19th century. They were very influential. They took the Christmas tree themselves. And one generation later, Ferdinand II, or Fernando II, he went to Portugal and did the same in Portugal. And I love it because there is always one person coming from, I don't know, Holland going to Germany, Christmas tree in Germany, Germany, Austria, and then Christmas tree in Austria, the same in Portugal, and so on. So it's, again, we're all connected to each other.
Yes, and someone here was saying that also brought the Christmas tree to Britain.
Albert.
Yeah. Yes, Prince Albert introduced the Christmas tree in Britain.
Prince Albert, and obviously Albert was a Protestant. You know, he came from Coburg, Germany, Protestant region, and he didn't have the step of going Catholic and then Protestant again, you know. And yeah, by the way, Queen Victoria, the first white bridal dress in history.
Oh,
She is the one who introduced the tradition of getting married in white.
Okay. So we learn a lot with you.
It's just a lot of fun facts all next to each other. I'm not knowledgeable.
And another 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. Do you want to tell us something special about 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃?
Yes, I wanted to show you a picture in case you don't know her. Now, I fortunately have a book right here so you can see her. Also, this book is probably the best 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃 biography that ever existed. I don't know if you can read it. It's from a lady called Brigitte Hamann. She died some years ago. Lovely, really, really, really interesting. So if you're into 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃 or monarchs, she even wrote a book called Hitler's Vienna. Different subject that we were not covered today, but still, if you're interested, she wrote a lot of very interesting books about Austrian culture, princesses, and so on. But so 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃 was one of the many royals that ended up escaping Vienna. 𝗧𝗃𝗃, her name was Elizabeth. She originally came from Bavaria, and she was wife to the Emperor Francis Joseph I, Franz Joseph, and she became Kaiserin, so Empress Elizabeth. Empress Elizabeth came from a small village in Bavaria. And by the way, if you're interested in 𝗧𝗃𝗃's origins in Bavaria, I have a highlight in my stories because I visited the village over Christmas. And I kind of showed a little bit around. But so 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 came from Bavaria, moved to the big city, and she was really under pressure. You know, she felt like everybody wanted so much of her. The protocol was horrible. You know, she had to learn how to walk, how to talk to people, and she was really easygoing. She loved to hike. She loved to go horse riding, and then. Yeah, well, she came to Vienna and she wasn't allowed to go horse riding because, you know, she was supposed to produce children and it's dangerous if you go horse riding. You're not allowed to hike. And I mean, of course, you're allowed to hike, but you need to find some time. You need to wake up in the morning, do your whole daily routine, and then literally do your stuff as a queen and as an empress. And 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃 didn't want to do it. So she had several crises which affected her health a lot. You know, she kind of got herself sick just by being psychologically unfortunate. And she was miserable, and the doctor recommended her just after 6 years of being in Vienna to go take some fresh air. And what is a better place to taking fresh air than Portugal, you know? And I mean, at the ocean, you know, the most beautiful place in the world, she went to the islands, to the place where Cristiano Ronaldo was born. She went to Madeira. Do I pronounce it right? Madeira?
Madeira.
Yeah. Madeira. And it is there that she spent 5 months. You imagine her, she arrives on a boat, she gets off the boat, and she takes 100 people with her just to make sure that she has everything she needs. And whenever she came back from Madeira, she was a completely different person. She was self-confident, she was gorgeous. I mean, she was 23 years old, so she was at the peak of her beauty, and she really found herself in Portugal, and she loved it so much that she came back time after time during her travels, and she even spent her 53rd or 56th birthday, not sure, I don't remember which one, but she spent a birthday also at Madeira. And there are actually some funny picture of her and her maids just posing there. And she stayed at a place called 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a casino at Madeira right now. It's a hotel. I would say as an Italian, 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃 or Vigia. Maybe somebody.
Let me see.
I'm just reading the comments. You can Google it. You can Google it, or someone in the comments know what the name is. There is nowadays in this place, there's a beautiful garden that one can access for, I think, just 1 or 2 euros. And there is a statue of 𝗧𝗃𝗃𝗃 still there.
Yeah.
So what really happened in Madeira? And what happens in Madeira stays in Madeira, my dear. Come on. Come on. No, but she absolutely loved it there, and there are actually a lot of funny stories of her hiking all the way up to a village called Monte.
Maybe she did the levadas.
She actually tried everything out, and she what's it how do you say the capital of Madeira is Funchal? Funchal. Funchal. Funchal.
Yes.
Okay. And so she hiked all the way up to Monte, which is a hill on top of Funchal. And then from there, she took the historical carreiros down. The carreiros, in case you don't know what they are, imagine 2 or 3 boys dressed in white, and they have a basket, which is a sled. So you load on the basket, and then you sled down all the way down from the mountain to the ocean. And Sissy did that too. So she was
so crazy. It's really crazy. It's like I don't want to say wrong, but I think that Red Bull did something there once. You know, the drink.
I don't know this. I don't know this. I don't want to say anything wrong, so I'm just gonna say.
The way it's so fast, and they go so fast doing that it's really adrenaline.
It's incredible. And I also saw some videos and pictures, guys. Go to Madeira. We should all go. I mean, let's just go all together. You girls can organize a group trip, and we can just lie down. Also, I read here my colleague Siri, been there, done that. Oh my God, you'll need to tell me about that over a glass of wine.
With the Madeira wine.
With a Madeira wine, I've heard it's amazing. Well, I know it's amazing. I actually tasted that. But speaking about Madeira, sorry, can I just say one more connection about it? Because there is one thing that people, I don't know if you guys know this a lot, but this is very important for us tour guides. I wouldn't say it's important for Austrians, but it surely is important for tour guides. It was, in fact, one of my questions also at my tour guide examination. And the very last emperor of Austria is still buried in Madeira. Because his name was Charles I. And he was the great nephew of Emperor Francis Joseph. And he was exiled after World War I, after the Habsburg Empire fell apart and monarchy was completely tear apart. And he first ran away to Switzerland, and then after trying to come back to Austria and reinstore monarchy twice, he was sent away to the Atlantic Ocean, to Madeira. Now, for everybody who doesn't know where Madeira is, it is quite far away. I mean, it is almost in Morocco. So just imagine, like I mean, not really, but if you have a look at Portugal, it's definitely not in the north. It's far down, and it's really from Austria. It's on the other side of Europe. It is completely the other direction. So they isolated him there, and he died from a fever, actually, just a couple of years later, 2 years later, well, 1 year later, because he arrived in Madeira in 1921 and he died in 1922. He had 8 children, and his wife, 𝗧𝗿, she was the last empress, and she came back to Vienna about 40 years ago and also died in Vienna. And she's resting in the Capuchin chapel and crypta, where all the Habsburgs are, or most of the Habsburgs are nowadays in Vienna. But his body still remains in Madeira, because the Madeira people were so nice to them. And as a sign of respect of these people that have accepted those rejected monarchs from the whole side of Europe, the whole other side of Europe, the Habsburg themselves and the Austrian government, they decided that the best thing for them would be to keep him there. And he actually also provided a miracle in the 1960s. A nun prayed for her illness to be cured at his chapel, which is at the church Nossa Senhora do Monte. As far as my Portuguese will go.
It's great.
Thank you. I'm just trying out. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I must be honest, I've never tried Portuguese. So I'm like, I know it's completely different. So I'm just trying not to mix it up. But so he's still laying there. And in 2003, the Pope, John Paul II, he beatified him. The first step to sanctification, which obviously created, let me just say, the whole shit storm, because people were like, why is this Habsburg person being sanctified right now? But apparently the main reason for it was that he, first of all, there was an allegedly miracle, and second of all, he always put church and his Christian beliefs before politics. And this is the reason why he was exiled, because all the Habsburg who did not abdicated were exiled from Austria. And he never abdicated because Charles said that his power and his crown came from the grace of God. And what God gives, it is only for God to take away. And this is why also this also played a big role eventually, like half a century later, for the Pope to say this person put God before himself.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. And I think it's really interesting because especially when I was younger, I remember watching on TV the movies about 𝗧𝗃.
They were not filmed in Portugal.
No, but it's really a character that I remember watching the movies and liking her a lot and liking to watch all that.
Of course.
And I don't know if many people knew about that connection to Madeira Island, actually, and it's really interesting to know. Allie, I wanted to before finishing here our talk, I wanted to ask you also if outside Vienna, if you would, what would be your suggestion? Your suggestion, not Google's suggestion, as you said.
My suggestion, absolutely. So Google will tell you to go to Salzburg. By all means, it's beautiful. So if you are in the area, but Salzburg is so far away from Vienna, you know, so if you are in Vienna, and let's say you have a week and you want to rent a car or take a bus or take a train, you don't want to go all the way to Salzburg. You know, you can do that from, I don't know, another region. But you need to go to the 𝗲𝗃𝗃.
To where?
𝗲𝗃𝗃. I'm going to type it in the comments, actually, so that you can read it as well. I'm sorry, this is a very close image of me. There it is. Now, this is a region. It's part of the federal state of Lower Austria, in German Niederösterreich. And by car is about 1 hour away from Vienna. And it is spectacular. It is a valley. It is north of Vienna. And it follows up the Danube River. So you have a huge wine valley over the Danube River. And in the summertime, there is also the Marillenfest, for example, the famous festival, the famous festival about all the fruits that they have over there. But mostly they're famous for wine. So you need to go there if you like wine. They have vineyards everywhere. They have an amazing view. And I'm so sorry, I'm going to send you all the picture that I saved on my phone so that you can repost them, because I wanted to show you something, but I'm afraid I'm not allowed to. And it's really, really stunning. And also in the 𝗲𝗃𝗃, there are ruins of a castle from the 12th century called Dürnstein. And this castle was the castle where the King of England, Richard Lionheart, if you watch Robin Hood, he's the lion. And Richard Lionheart, he, well, that's a quite embarrassing story for us Austrians. He was kept in captivity from the Duke of Austria back then because they had a fight. They had like a personal dispute during the Third Crusade. They were fighting actually on the same side because they were both Christian. And then on the way back from the Holy Land to England, Richard Lionheart from east to west had to cross Austria. And he was pretty much kidnapped in Vienna and brought to Dürnstein. And he had to pay a huge ransom in order to be liberated. And once he got liberated, an entire city was built with the ransom that he paid, and also the entire medieval city wall around Vienna was built with the ransom of Richard Lionheart, which is actually quite a fun story. And you can still see the ruins. It's completely free of charge. It's really open, and you can climb up to the ruins, and from there you have a view over the entire valley with the Danube, and you can obviously take pictures of yourself so that Instagram likes would just float like from all directions. It's amazing.
Thank you for the suggestion. And so we before finishing, I would first I would like to ask you, how can we follow you? If you have, it's your Instagram, or do you have another project? How can we find you?
So thank you for the question, first of all. You can find me under Allie the Tour Guide. I am going to launch my website very soon so that you guys can also book me directly without too many Instagram messages, obviously. I took a little bit of time, honestly, because I started another project, which is called Vienna Viral. And we launched this week, so it's brand new. And I got together with my colleague 𝗀𝗍, which is also listening, 𝗀𝗍, the human, not the iPhone voice. and 𝗀𝗍 is a tour guide and also a illustrator, and she is a wine sommelier and an artist. She graduated from the Academy of Art in Vienna. So we pretty much joined forces because we realized I know all the dates and she know all the artists. And so we decided to create this project together called Vienna Viral. And we just created our Instagram this week, and we're going to launch the blogs in a couple of weeks, but I'm not allowed to tell you more about this because you'll have to figure it out yourself.
Yes, we will find out. So Allie, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure. I feel like I want to pack now and go meet you, and let's do all this. But as we can't, for now, we will be able to travel again. As I asked the girls, I asked Carla and Anna in the beginning to give us this suggestion of a book so we could travel during the week that is about to begin. But do you have a suggestion for us too? Like, how can we travel without actually moving?
Yes, actually, the first thing I thought was a book. Obviously, I thought it would be great if you choose a book that tells something about a specific place. It can be a romance, it can be a travel guide, you know, it can be poetry. It doesn't really have to be something called Visit Vienna in 10 days. You know, it doesn't have to be that sort of book. But since everybody had some book suggestions, I would like to suggest two of my favorite books. If you would like to travel to Vienna with me, my all-time favorite book is Die Welt von gestern, which means the world of yesterday. This is the title in English, and it's written from Stefan Zweig, which was one of the greatest authors in Vienna. And he actually, took his own life during his exile in Brazil in 1942, during World War II. And he is the typical author without roots, wandering throughout Europe and finding himself only in himself. And in Die Welt von gestern, the world of yesterday, is not only about Vienna, but it gives you a perspective about European society in the moment from World War I, right before World War I, when everything was about to explode, and you can feel this energy in the book as well. And another book that it's similar in the topic but completely different in the style is called 𝗂𝘀𝘀𝗃𝗃 eyes. And it is a book about, it's the author is Edmund de Waal. And I'll send you everything so you can write it down. And it's a wonderful, wonderful book about the history of one small object that traveled the world. And the author follows this object and reconstructs the real story of his Jewish bourgeois family that raised in the second half of the 19th century and fell apart, obviously, during the time of World War II and the Holocaust. And he puts back all the pieces of the puzzles by going to Japan, traveling to France, traveling to Hungary. He puts this back all together. And so when I chose these two book recommendations, I thought a great way of traveling would be to create a book exchange in which each one of us, each person taking part of this book exchange, picks a book that can tell something about a land, a country, a region, or a city, and then swap it. And this way we will each get this feeling of being somewhere else. You know, you can send me something about Portugal, I send you something about Vienna, and then these books will just travel with us, which is fantastic because we won't have to move.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to everybody. I saw I saw people writing saying hello from Mexico and from Ecuador. So hi everybody. I just didn't want to interrupt Allie to say hi, but thank you so much for being here, for watching us. And we will leave our talk here on our Instagram, and we will put all the suggestions on our stories, and Allie will then share the pictures that she has. So stay tuned. Oh, hello from New York City too. Great.
Hello, New York City. Hi.
And so thank you very much. Thank you, Anna, Carla, Eva, for joining us. And really, Allie, it was a pleasure. And next week, it is Carla that is going to host our travel talk. It will be 5 p.m. GMT, and we will go to Dubai. Okay.
Thank you so much, Cátia, for having me. I had so much fun, and I hope I didn't speak too long. I think it's a tour guide thing. I'm sorry if I spoke too much, but I enjoyed every minute of it. So thank you for organizing this. You girls are great, and I can't wait to go to Dubai with you because it's really cold here. So I'm waiting for it.
Here too. Next week we want sun.
So I'll see you next week.
See you next week, everybody. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.